name's Evan, 16 years old, nerd, gamer, outcast. Today was supposed to be my first day of high school, and maybe the start of something better. It wasn't. I've never really fit in. I spend most of my time online. Mods, indie horror games, fan theories. I'm fluent in Reddit sarcasm. Social skills? Not so much. My summer was 90% screen time, 10% microwave meals, and maybe 3 texts from real people. 2 of them were my mom. This morning she made waffles. She always tries on big days. Told me, "New year, new Evan." I smiled. Didn't have the heart to tell her I still felt like old Evan. Same awkward walk, same worn-out hoodie, same feeling in my chest like I didn't belong anywhere. The bus smelled like vape and Axe body spray. Nobody sat next to me. That's fine, I've got practice being invisible. People were glued to their phones, not TikToks though. News. Something about a rabies mutation spreading down south. I leaned over to peek at one guy's screen. He was watching a body cam video. Blurry, chaotic. A man screaming before the footage cut out. No one seemed that bothered. After 3 years of COVID, we're all desensitized. Virus this, quarantine that. People hear outbreak and think it's just another week of remote learning. They didn't know this was different. Not yet. East Pine High looked the same as it always did in pictures. Red brick, too many security cameras, and a cafeteria that still smelled like expired cheese from the outside. I walked to my locker, fumbled the combo. Some jock shoulder checked me and kept walking. "Welcome back." Then I saw her, Pamela, blonde, slender, sun in human form. In my eyes, a 10-10 in every possible way. She walked down the hallway like it owed her something. And I swear, she looked at me. Just for a second, then I realized I was standing in her path. She walked around me, didn't say a word. Homeroom felt like purgatory. Buzzing lights, wobbly desk. The teacher cleared his throat every 30 seconds like it hurt to breathe. I glanced at the clock. 8:41 a.m. Then the intercom crackled. Something in the voice didn't sound right. "Teachers, please check your email for updated health protocols." I looked around. No one reacted, but I felt something. A shift. The kind of silence right before the ground starts to shake. By third period, the day already felt weird. The hallways weren't louder, they were quieter, like people were trying to pretend things were normal and failing. I had biology with Mr. Kellerman, a man who looked like he'd rather be dissecting students than frogs. He rolled out a TV cart and told us we'd be watching a documentary. Said he had a migraine. Then he sat at his desk and scrolled his phone for the entire class. That's when I started noticing the messages, buzzes, notifications, news updates popping up on people's screens. Breaking: CDC monitoring potential rabies variant outbreak. Unusual attacks in Texas, Georgia, and northern Florida. Authorities urge calm. Nobody was calm, but nobody was panicking either. It's like we'd learned to ignore headlines. Pamela sat 2 rows ahead of me. She was scrolling too. I watched her expression go from bored to confused. Then she locked her phone and leaned back in her seat. 20 minutes into class, someone coughed, the kind that made your lungs rattle. Then again. I looked over. It was the kid next to me. Hoodie, pale. His nose was bleeding. Mr. Kellerman looked up. "Do you need the nurse?" The kid nodded, stood, took 2 steps, and collapsed. Everyone froze. Mr. Kellerman stood so fast his chair fell over. Another student yelled, "Yo, he's seizing!" But he wasn't. Not really, he was twitching. Fingers curled inward, mouth opening and closing like he was trying to scream but couldn't remember how. That's when it started again. The coughing. But now it wasn't just one student. It was 3, then 4, all in different corners of the room. Mr. Kellerman reached for the phone. Then the kid on the floor moved, too fast, and bit his ankle. When Kellerman screamed, everything stopped. His voice cracked like dry wood. The kid on the floor didn't just bite, he tore. Blood hit the tile in a thick line. Steam rose off it. Kellerman stumbled back, holding his ankle, then crumpled against the whiteboard. He didn't scream again, just stared at nothing. Mouth twitching, eyes darting. Then, slowly, he started crawling. The classroom was silent. No one moved. No one breathed. Even the lights above buzzed quieter than usual. That's when the other three started coughing again. Harder this time. One girl dropped her phone and clutched her chest. Another slammed her forehead into the desk. Again. Again. The third just sat there, teeth clenched so tight blood leaked from her gums. It was like time split open. A second stretched into forever. Desks didn't look like desks anymore. The window wasn't an escape. It was a mirror, and all I could see was my face frozen in fear. But something inside me snapped. Maybe it was instinct. Maybe it was every hour I spent binging The Walking Dead. Maybe it was because for once I didn't want to die without ever talking to Pamela. I grabbed a pencil from my desk. It wasn't much, but it felt solid in my hand. I crouched, moved fast. One of the twitching students stood. Bones popped like bubble wrap under her skin. Her head tilted too far. A groan bubbled from her throat. Someone screamed. I slid toward the back of the room. There, near the janitor's closet, a broom. I didn't think. I snapped it over my knee. Splinters cut my leg. Didn't care. The handle broke jagged. Sharp enough. My heart pounded so hard I could hear it in my ears. Pamela was against the wall now, eyes locked on the twitching girl who had started walking. No, jerking, toward her. I moved. Not heroic, not brave, just fast. I shoved the broken broom between them. The thing twisted and let out a dry, guttural hiss. The tip tore something soft, enough to knock her off balance. I grabbed Pamela's wrist. She didn't hesitate. We ran, out the door, down the hall, over bags, notebooks, blood. A fire alarm screeched overhead, too late to matter. We passed a locker where someone was still banging from the inside. I didn't look. We hit the main doors. Glass shattered around us. One of the infected was halfway through a trophy case, blood soaking his Letterman jacket. I kicked the bar. The doors flung open, and the world outside was worse. Smoke, sirens, people running, bodies on the pavement, cars abandoned in the middle of the road. A woman stood in the parking lot screaming for her child. Something tackled her from behind. Pamela whispered, "Oh my God." I couldn't answer. The world outside didn't look real. The sky was full of smoke. The air reeked like rubber and iron. Sirens howled in every direction, but none of them were moving. People ran past us, screaming, some holding each other, others just running for themselves. Someone got knocked over in the chaos. Didn't get back up. I kept moving, dragging Pamela behind me. She didn't say anything. Didn't have to. She was shaking. So was I. Then she gasped, pointed. At the edge of the lot, a kid in a band hoodie was waving from the open doors of a school bus. He shouted something. Couldn't hear him over the screaming. But he was pointing at us. Urgently. We didn't hesitate. I grabbed her hand tighter and said, "Pamela, stick close to me, okay? Hold on to my hoodie. Don't let go, no matter what." We ran. The pavement was a minefield of dropped phones, backpacks, shoes. People shoved past us in every direction. Some were covered in blood, crying. Others didn't look right. There was a woman standing completely still in the middle of the lot. Her arm bent backward like it was boneless. She didn't blink. A man pushed past me, shoulder checking me so hard I almost fell. Someone screamed right next to us. I looked left just long enough to see a body on the ground, twitching, and something hunched over it, eating like it was starved. Pamela clutched the back of my hoodie tighter. We kept moving. The bus was maybe 20 feet away when a man in a Letterman jacket lunged at us from behind a car. Face bloody, mouth wide. I swung the broken broomstick hard, hit something soft. He dropped, snarling. We didn't stop. We hit the bus steps. Voices inside were yelling, "Close it! Just close the door! Drive, Mr. Hurst! They're dead already!" I said, "Drive." A girl in the front seat turned and shouted, "They're not bit! Shut up!" She was tall, with sharp cheekbones and dark braids tied back tight. Eyes locked on me like she'd already judged my soul. A guy beside her leaned toward the front, military haircut, blood on his hoodie. "Just hold the door 5 more seconds." Inside, a teacher was frozen behind the wheel. Mr. Hurst, gym teacher, hands shaking on the steering wheel, wide-eyed. A girl in the back, blonde, pretty, crying mascara, screamed, "They're gonna get us killed! Shut the door! Go!" Pamela climbed up first. I followed, pulling the broom up behind me. Someone grabbed the handle, slammed the door shut just as something slammed into the glass. Crack. Blood smeared the outside. But we were in. Everyone was yelling. The teacher still wasn't moving. The blonde girl pointed at us. "They almost got us killed! You don't just pick up strays!" The girl with the braids snapped. "You want to be the reason someone dies? Sit down and shut up." The guy in the blood-stained hoodie looked at me, nodded once. "Good swing." I didn't reply. I just looked out the window. The school was still burning, and the parking lot was crawling with things that used to be people. The bus rolled through the city like it was the last machine left working. We passed neighborhoods choked in smoke, streetlights blinking red over empty intersections. A dog stood in the middle of the road, one ear torn off, muzzle stained. It watched us pass without blinking. We saw people too. One woman dragging a suitcase through broken glass. A man banging on a locked pharmacy door, bleeding from the mouth. A kid standing on a rooftop holding a sign that said, "Help us." We didn't stop. No one said to. But we didn't. Eventually, the buildings got smaller. The streets got quieter. Fields replaced pavement. For a second, I thought we made it. Then the bus sputtered, jerked, slowed, and died. Everyone looked up at once. Mr. Hurst tapped the gas. "Nothing." "That's it," he said. "End of the line. No more gas." Silence. Then, "You've got to be kidding me," the blonde girl snapped. Maria looked out the window, scanning the horizon. No shelter, no cars, no town signs, nothing. Someone in the back started crying. Pamela sat still, fingers dug into her sleeves. Chris stood, stretched his legs, then looked at me. I swallowed hard and stood too. "We need shelter. Something close. We can't stay here." Chris nodded. "Yeah, we walk. Together." But the blonde girl shook her head and stood fast. "I'm not following you into the woods. My dad's cabin is northeast, 20 minutes that way if we cut through the hill." Zeke looked at her. "That's suicide. You don't know what's out there." She scoffed. "I know what's not. This bus. You do you." She turned to Mr. Hurst. "You coming?" The teacher looked at the road, then back at us. "If there's shelter, it's worth a shot. I'm going." Zeke followed him. 3 more kids did too. They climbed out, heads low, backpacks tight, boots crunching gravel. No goodbyes. Then, a sound behind us. Low, wet, like breath dragging through a broken throat. Maria stepped toward the back window. Her face went white. She didn't speak, just pointed. A figure staggered down the road, then another, and another, limbs twitching, bodies bent wrong, eyes wide, empty, no sound but the wind, and the crunch of gravel beneath dozens of feet. They were coming, fast. Chris moved first. "Go." We pushed through the door. No time to close it. Sprinting down the roadside, past fences, over ditches. Pamela slipped. I grabbed her arm. Maria shoved a garbage bin in the way. Bought us seconds. Chris looked left and pointed. "Gas station." A mile sign crooked in the dirt, arrow pointing to a faded logo. We ran. My legs screamed. Pamela wheezed behind me. Chris was yelling something. I couldn't hear over the blood pounding in my ears. We reached it just as the shadows caught the edge of the lot. I hit the door with my shoulder. It didn't move. Maria ducked under a broken window. We followed. Glass scraped my jacket. We fell inside, hard. Chris yanked a metal shelf down behind us, blocking the opening. Then, silence. Outside, dozens of them filled the parking lot, waiting, like they knew. The door wouldn't hold on its own. Chris jammed a pipe through the handle while Maria flipped over a steel rack and dragged it against the front. I grabbed a display fridge and shoved it tight against the back exit. Every sound we made felt too loud. Outside, they pressed closer. Dozens, smearing their faces against the glass like moths to a light. One of them slammed its hand against the window, the crack spider-webbed. We froze. "Shut off the lights," I whispered. Pamela moved first, flipping every switch behind the counter. The gas station went dim. Just moonlight now. They couldn't see us clearly anymore, but they knew we were in here. We moved fast. I pulled a metal rack off the wall and slid it in front of the window. Chris piled crates behind it. Maria taped up cardboard, fast and tight. Pamela grabbed whatever she could find. Bottled drinks, bags of ice, even boxes of cereal. We built a wall of junk and prayers. My hands were shaking, but my voice wasn't. "Double the shelves here. Stack the pallets. Chris, check the back for any side doors. Maria, glass cases too. Anything that breaks easy, we reinforce it." No one argued. The groaning outside got louder. Hands smacking the glass. Nails dragging down the metal. Something thudded on the roof. We didn't look up. Time blurred. Minutes? Hours? We worked until our arms burned. Then suddenly, silence. No scratching, no moaning, just wind. Pamela peeked through a crack in the wall of shelves. "They're gone," she whispered. No one moved for a full minute. Then we all exhaled at once. The back storeroom had food. A lot of it. Canned stuff, vending machine stock, gallons of water. There was even a backup generator in the office with half a tank of fuel. For the first time since the bus, we breathed. We sat in a circle near the chip aisle, lights low, stomachs full. Someone laughed, a real laugh. It sounded weird, wrong, then right. Maria spoke first. "I miss running." She stretched her legs out. "Track, nothing but wind and sweat and silence. You can't hear yourself thinking when you run fast enough." Chris grinned. "I miss video games." I looked at him. He shrugged. "Judge me all you want, but I was this close to finishing Elden Ring before all this." Pamela hugged her knees. "I miss dumb things." She stared at the floor. Like buying bad coffee, sharing earbuds, lining up for prom tickets I probably wouldn't go to anyway. No one said anything for a second. Then I added, "I miss not being important." They all looked at me. I stared at the broomstick still in my hand. Somehow it's easier when no one's expecting you to save anyone. Then, gunfire, distant, sharp. Everyone froze. Chris crawled to the front, peered through the smallest gap in the barricade. He raised his hand. "3 figures," he whispered. We all moved in silence. Through the cracks, we saw them too. 3 soldiers, walking down the road toward us. There were 3 of them. 2 walking, 1 slumped between them, blood soaking through his fatigues. One of the standing soldiers kept firing short bursts behind them. We couldn't see what he was shooting at, but we didn't need to. The moans were getting louder again. They were being chased, and they weren't going to make it alone. "We're helping them," Evan said. No hesitation, no vote, just a decision. We pulled back from the barricade and ducked into the back aisle. There was a plan before anyone even said it out loud. Chris grabbed a mop handle and duct taped a metal bar to one end. A short spear. Evan swung open a maintenance cabinet and pulled out a rusted hammer and a bent crowbar. They nodded at each other. Pamela pulled the blade off a broken paper cutter and fastened it to a wooden flagpole she found near the counter. Maria wrapped her jacket around her arm, tied it tight with tape, and took position behind the window with the most visibility. "Okay," Evan whispered. "Chris and I take the front. We push with the rack and draw the crowd away." Pamela looked at him. "What if they don't follow?" "They will. You're the signal. When they're close enough, shout." Maria tapped the makeshift spear against the floor twice. "Ready." They moved fast. Chris and Evan rolled out a broken metal garbage rack from the storage room, pushed it like a riot shield. Chris had the hammer, Evan the crowbar. Pamela knelt at the corner of the barricade. Maria crouched near the window, spear at her side. The front door cracked open just enough. The screams were louder now. The soldiers were less than 50 feet away, one limping bad, nearly dragging. And behind them, the infected, at least a dozen, some crawling, some limping, all closing in. Pamela stood. "Hey!" she screamed. "Over here!" The lead soldier snapped his head toward the voice. The others followed. They changed direction instantly, stumbling toward the gas station. Chris and Evan pushed forward, hard. The rack clanged over broken asphalt and shattered glass. 2 infected broke off from the pack, rushed the boys. Chris swung the hammer. Crack. Skull met steel. It dropped. Evan jabbed low, crowbar biting into a kneecap. The second one hit the ground, and he stomped hard. Didn't wait to see it stop twitching. The soldiers got closer. The limping one collapsed 10 feet from the door. Evan grabbed him under the arm. Chris got the other side. They dragged him toward the door, while the third soldier fired 2 more bursts behind them. Pamela and Maria pulled the barricade aside just enough. The door slammed open. They all tumbled in. Maria yanked the door shut. Pamela threw her weight into the shelf. Chris collapsed on the floor. Evan leaned back against the wall, chest heaving. Everyone was breathing like they'd just outrun death itself, because they had. The third soldier turned slowly. Blood covered his helmet. His hands were shaking. He looked at the group, grinned through cracked lips, and said, "Thank God you kids were here." Then he collapsed to his knees. The bleeding soldier lay across a row of snack crates, breathing shallow. He looked pale, soaked in red from the waist down. The man who'd collapsed last stood now, helmet off, a deep scar crossing his jaw. He looked around at all of us, eyes calm but exhausted. "Name's Garin, 27, Colonel." He motioned to the kid crouched nearby, younger, nervous, barely out of high school. "This one's Rick. Fresh recruit. First real op." Then he gestured to the injured man. "That's Rex. Took a hit during the fallback." Chris shifted forward, eyes narrowing. "Is he bit?" Garin shook his head fast. "No. Friendly fire. Stray round to the leg during a breach. Lucky, honestly." He crouched beside Rex, who groaned but didn't speak. "We were sent in as backup for a medical evac team. Everything was already burning when we hit the ground. First squad never even made it out of the LZ." Garin rubbed his eyes. "We got overrun. Too fast. Too many. They don't move right. Don't die right either." No one spoke. Just the quiet hum of the vending machines and our shallow breaths. Maria was the first to speak. "So what now? We're stuck here until what? Someone comes?" Garin looked around the station. Cracked tiles, half-barricaded windows. He shook his head. "No one's coming." He leaned back against the counter and sighed. "But I did overhear something before we lost comms. Top brass talking over private channel. Said there's a safe zone, island off the coast, infection-free, military-controlled." His eyes met mine. "That's where we were heading." Before, he gestured to Rex's leg. My heart skipped. Then I said it. "I have a boat." Everyone turned toward me. "Well, my dad had one. Old fishing thing. We haven't used it in a couple years, but it's still docked. I need the key." Maria leaned forward. "Where's the key?" "My garage. It's not far. Maybe 10-15 minutes if we cut through the north side of town." Garin nodded, a little smirk forming. "Looks like we've got a plan." He looked back at Rex. "But we're not going anywhere tonight. He needs rest. Do you have medical supplies?" Pamela stood up. "Yeah, I saw a med kit in the office, in a red cabinet by the desk." Garin turned to Rick. "Go with her. Patch him up. Do it right." Rick nodded, eyes wide, and followed Pamela toward the back. We ate. For the first time, it wasn't panicked chewing or emergency rations. It felt almost normal. Crackers, canned peaches, warm soda. The kind of meal you eat when you know you're lucky to be eating at all. Garin stood near the window, watching the dark. Then he said it. Low, serious. "Tomorrow, we're gonna need a car, truck, something that runs." He turned, smirked like he was already planning something insane. "That garage of yours better have more than a boat key." The sun was barely up when we moved out. Maria, Pamela, and Chris stayed behind, watching over Rex and reinforcing the barricades. It was just me, Garin, and Rick heading out. The air outside tasted like smoke and rust. No birds, no wind. Just that awful silence that meant nothing good. We moved fast, tight formations. Garin took point, low, fast, constantly scanning. Rick in the middle, rifle shaking in his hands. Me in the back, holding a piece of sharpened steel and pretending I wasn't terrified. Halfway down the street, Garen stopped, turned to me. "You ever fired a weapon, kid?" I nodded once. "VR counts?" He grunted. "Didn't think so. Here." He pulled a sidearm from his belt. Black, heavy, dropped a mag in my palm. "2 mags. Use it like it's your last 2 lives." Then he hesitated. "Wait, safety's here. Slide here. You..." I was already breaking it down. Slide off. Barrel clear. Magazine check. Reassemble. Click, click, lock. I held it clean. 2 hands. Ready stance. Garen stared at me. "Well, I'll be damned. Looks like we got ourselves a gun freak." He smirked. "That's one less thing I gotta worry about." We kept going. Cars lined the streets. Some burnt out, others still idling with the doors wide open. A pair of boots stuck out from under a pickup truck. We didn't check. Garen raised a fist. We dropped. Across the street, 2 soldiers, or what used to be, staggered near an overturned Jeep. One was missing half a face. The other dragged a rifle by the barrel. No commands, just motion. Garen crept left. I moved right. Rick stayed behind cover, hands trembling. We closed in. 1 step, 2. Quick strike. Crowbar through the temple. Garen buried his blade in the other's neck before it could scream. Bodies dropped, silent. Then we saw it, parked beside a dead gas station. A Humvee, doors closed, glass intact, keys still in the dash. "Hooah," Garen muttered under his breath. We sprinted. He checked under the chassis. I covered the alley. Rick crawled into the back, rifle raised. Garen turned the key. The Humvee roared to life. No alarms, no movement. For once, we got lucky. We drove fast. Dust kicked up behind us like smoke trails. Buildings blurred past. The station came into view, still standing. Chris was at the window with Pamela beside him, holding a spear. Maria flung open the door as we pulled up. We poured out, breathing hard, smiling despite the fear. Garen patted the hood. "You said garage next, right?" I nodded. He grinned, pulled the pistol from his holster, and spun it once before sliding it back. "Then let's finish the job."